All right. Hyped Money Never Sleeps, episode 21. Returning ThankYouX. Vinnie and Victor, the two homies, finally on the show. So excited on this crazy fucking hot summer day to get these three hot studs in the same room as me. Actually, Victor was just out here visiting, which was dope.
That's
Um,
okay.
yeah, it was super fun. You know, um, it's the summer kind of dead days, and you're getting a lot of negativity on the timeline. What are you guys most hyped about right now in the space or that's going on generally? That's positive for me. I mean, going next week to New York, I'm going to see you, Ryan, and some people, but really excited to get together in person like I have been with various people in the space. It's a real joy. How about all you? What are you hyped about right now? What's making you happy? What are you looking forward to?
I'm
Hmm.
personally, I'm hyped on the IRL experiences that have been happening. Um, like this year, OG, you were in Paris for NFT Paris, which was like a very, very, very strong vibe.
Yeah.
Even when there's a lot of negativity on the timeline, I think the IRL experiences kind of like drown that out and show that there's like more out here than just what's on the timeline. And there's a lot of positive stuff going on. I most recently went to Switzerland for Basel, and I saw more digital art at the main fair than I've seen at any other fair, like in the traditional world, which is good. And then, yeah, those are the things that I would say I'm excited about is like IRL experiences. I'm looking forward to like the Christie's Art and Tech Summit next week in New York. And what I'm most excited about, though, is Colombia's win yesterday.
Dude, okay. Now I'm in love with Ryan, dude. Dude, okay, do you prepare for interviews? Like, how do you come up with this shit? Like, you sound like you're on like Jimmy Kimmel or something, dude. Like, how do you know that shit?
Listen, I hosted enough clubhouse spaces for you fucks, um, for everyone's drops back in the day.
We talk
Oh,
about
dude.
you when you're not around, Victor. Me and Ryan just text every day.
I was actually talking with Victor and Mad Dog yesterday, and we were texting about all of a sudden I look at my phone. I'm at Home Depot. There's 100 texts about the Columbia football game, and I'm like, "What is going on?" I was like, "Hey, congrats! Did you win?" They're like, "No, yeah." I was like, "I don't know. I'm buying paint. I don't know." And
Dude,
then
that was
I was very happy to
brutal,
see them
dude.
win.
That
Yeah.
was insane. That was literally why I was able to hang out with OJ last week because I flew to San Francisco to catch a game, Colombia Brazil,
Mm.
and I didn't know that you were so close. So I was like, oh, dude, let's hang out. But yeah, dude, yesterday was crazy, man. Like my blood pressure, dude. Like that was insane.
How about
Yeah.
you, Vinny and Victor? What are you hyped
And
about?
what are you excited about?
I don't know,
I would
dude.
echo.
Honestly,
I'd echo Ryan's
this kind of
sentiment.
stuff. Yeah, same, dude. Same. Like this kind of stuff, just like hanging out with people. I feel like everybody who's like hanging out now that you really vibe with, especially like people who have been doing this since like 2020 or even before. Everybody's been through like all emotions of just being like, this is amazing to like this is over and like everything in between. So I feel like everybody who really moves around anything related to art right now really means it. You kind of have to be a little bit of a masochist even to keep pushing it, right? So like I feel like everyone who does something related to art, even if it's like something like your show or if it's like a project or even just like the people who hang out at like gallery openings or that are just talking about like things that are happening in the space revolving around art, is people who really fucking mean it. So everyone is just like, you can really have like good conversations and really good interactions with those people because we're all kind of like aiming towards the same thing, right? So that's kind of like the thing that especially lately I'm like really kind of having like a great time being surrounded by those people and by those events and just kind of having my mind in those places, right?
Most def, man. I totally
Yeah.
agree. And I think so many years ago when I first started NFTs, this guy was with Mod Dog and Alpha Dog, the birds, used to call NFTs new friend technology. And I'm now at the point where every single day, if I'm not hanging with somebody in this space in real life, I'm on video calls or talking to people. And it's truly been such a joy. And like what I love too is a lot of people view the timeline and stuff as negative. Twitter's amazing. You can just mute and block motherfuckers. So
Oh yeah.
my timeline's sunny as fuck with all cool people. And so I found, like you said, Victor, for me, I came in, first in November of 21. So it's mostly been down only for me. And, but still like one of the greatest experiences of my life and getting better.
Thank you for buying our bags.
I have definitely been. So, some scammer was like talking smack. They're like, before he got rich in crypto, I'm like, the only lies in here is like, I never got rich in crypto, bro. But yeah, so I totally agree. And it's always important to remember whenever you feel down in the space, reach out to somebody like you vibe with. And I've found people are incredible. They'll just fucking vibe back. So, switching gears a bit, talking about Christie's next week, there's been a lot of talk, and I've spent a lot of time recently thinking about sort of the trad art or physical space and the digital space. There's been a lot of talk about, art is art or bridging these markets and so on. And I've spent a lot of time recently thinking about, for me personally, because I'm later in my career than many, like there's going to be this period where we're in this transitional time where the people who are younger, who are used to consuming art natively digital, versus, typically older people are used to consuming art physically, to bridge this. And I think the Christie's auction, which Vinnie, I don't think you were in it, but Victor and I bought Ryan's piece, obviously. I think this is a really interesting time. And as artists, I know all of you were obviously artists before. It's not true of everybody, but you were artists prior to the digital. And Ryan, I know you and I especially talk a lot about this. How are you guys thinking about your position in the space? How you think about merging? Do you think of digital and physical as separate? How do you think of physical and digital and what you're doing? And do you think of them as separate markets? Do you view your approach as a combined approach? What are you looking at or excited about in digital, like this digital versus physical, aspect of the market we're all kind of focused on bridging?
Vinny, you go first.
I was trying to think. I think my work has always been. I usually love to explore as many mediums as possible, and I think I had an iPad and an Apple Pencil, and was scared of it for quite some time, but then finally took the leap and started to be a bit more digital in my work a few years ago, just to kind of explore it, and that kind of course led me down the rabbit hole of sharing work on Twitter and connecting with more digital focused artists. So I think for me, it's all about exploration in my own work. I try not to divide them too much, even though I think obviously they are quite different, I try to explore, clothing, murals, digital stuff, projects that are purely focused on like different blockchains and different tech. But for me, I'm just trying to explore and get out of my comfort zone as much as I can to just kind of let my artwork continue to grow in different ways that I probably wouldn't have seen it do if I just only painted or just only drew or just only did like works on paper. So always had that as kind of the beginnings, but allowing it to get digital and physical has led my artwork to kind of flourish in as many different ways. And definitely like visually, it's changed a lot over just these kind of 4 or 5 years that I might be, half digital, half traditional, and kind of just always go back and forth. So I kind of just let it do its thing. And now I'm working on some clothes here and there, but working on some 3D stuff. And I'm always just trying to have my hands in a little bit of everything just to scratch that itch to make something. So I try not to put too much focus on what's hot or what's not, but just make some stuff that I'm excited to and try to continue to share it. So that's where I'm at.
I think you can really see that in Vinny. Well, in both of you guys' work. Like I'm a huge fan of like both of you guys' work, and I feel like one of the reasons why we like became friends in the space too was like there's like an unspoken level of respect for like each other's craft, right? Like and this is like me personally, and I don't know, maybe you guys feel the same way because like you guys do like physical stuff too. Especially in the space, because like I mean we've been doing art for a very long time, and like but just talking about specifically in the space, like there's so much like just exclusively digital art. There's AI stuff. There's a bunch of stuff that when I see somebody who like, gives me like a canvas or a sketchbook, or if Vinnie builds a giant wall with like glyphs on it, or if Brian is like actually like putting screens on like a physical canvas, to me that's like, I don't even have to say, but to me it's like, okay, this is fucking sick. Like this is like another level, right? So I feel like I love that unspoken kind of like, it's like a nod, right? It's like a unspoken nod. They're like, oh, this is sick. And like, I know what you're doing. I know what you're trying to do. And I've seen what you've done until this point. That's like the coolest thing ever for me. Like these two guys are just like examples of that, like blending those like traditional influences from like having, like an extensive background, just doing, painting or drawing or whatever it is in like physical mediums, and then trying to blend it with digital stuff. But it feels, I mean, this is to me, right? Like I might be off, but like it feels to me like it's like out of like pure curiosity, because I feel like there's like I do feel there's like a little bit of like an agenda now, or I mean, since we started, that is like, oh, everything's like natively digital, and it has to be digital because we're talking about NFTs and digital is the future. I've even seen people being like, I mean, like people are extreme sometimes. People are like, oh, physical is the thing of the past. Now everything is digital. It's like, dude, relax. Like, I don't even know what we're arguing about this. Like,
Yeah,
about that.
For me, well, one thing that I like is when you can look at an artist, like if we're talking physical and digital, if you can look at an artist and see their work and notice that it's theirs in any different medium, whether it's Vinnie's wall, whether it's a digital piece, like even the 3D stuff that you've been posting on Twitter recently, like it's undeniably you. Like if someone else posted that, I'd be like, that person's posting Vinnie's piece, and same goes with Victor. Like you can see the piece in his background right now. Like that to me, I could pair that with like, a piece that you released on Nifty Gateway that like has that feel to it, and I look at your piece now and I see the animation and where it would go. Like, and it like, that's what's kind of cool. So like now if I look at like a flat piece of Vinnie's, I could like in my mind, because I've seen his 3D stuff and his flat like work stuff, like sketches and stuff, I can like feel it come to life. And one thing, going to what you said, Victor, is like the kind of hesitance on the physical from a lot of digital people, not digital people, but like people that are natively digital,
traditional digital collectors.
Yeah. And so like in 2021, is the first time I put the screen inside of the painting, and I was trying to figure out a way to actually like blend the two for me that felt the most like organic way, without like, I use this analogy a lot. I probably used this on your last show that we did, but like the artist is a tree, and like a lot of people came in the NFT space and tried to plant a new tree, and there wasn't like a connection. It was like the separate tree, and the tree doesn't grow as fast. It maybe dies after like a year or two when the market goes down. But if you're an artist who were working on your craft for a decade or so, or however long, and putting in the work and building this tree, fruit was growing off it, this and that, then NFTs became another branch. And I would say for all of us on this call, like it might have become like a very big portion of that branch. And maybe helped us get noticed by other people. But we're still that tree. And so like, it still feels like the same thing, but with a new medium. And in 2021, when I put the screens in the paintings, I was DMing it to people who had been interested in my digital work, that were collecting stuff, and we were having dialogue, and it was actually met with a lot of like resistance. And yeah, I don't know, that like people were like, oh, we don't want physical. Like, can I just buy the digital? And I was like, well, this is this combo, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so, and it's funny how it's kind of come around once more people enter the space, and you're seeing like a lot of the institutions come in, and, the bigger artists like Beeple and Rafiq, where like they're digitally native artists that like can have these IRL experiences, whether it's like the Human One, where it's like this, animated digital screen that's moving, or it's like, it's like a sculpture, or it's like the piece in MoMA where like you have to go in person to really experience it. And I think like now it's kind of like, it's clear that like it can be both, or, you know, it doesn't have to be. And I would say that like artists don't need to feel like they have to force a physical element, just like maybe painters don't have to physically force something. If it doesn't come natural and feel like it has that touch across both sides, whatever medium it is, then yeah. But like these artists, I can see it like clear as day who the artist is. It's recognizable. It's pure. It's like, you know, it's real to them. So yeah. Sorry, I kind of went on a rant.
Yeah, it has to make sense. Like I love that tree analogy. That's like, you see, you do prepare for this kind of stuff, dude.
Well, you know what's funny? So the tree analogy, actually, my wife uses it a lot because she comes from music, and a lot of record labels, like record labels, she says, think that they're the tree, and they think that the artists are the fruit that they help develop. But really, the artist is the fruit, or the artist is the tree, and the label are the people picking the fruit from the tree. And they can pick, and they can have these really successful like crops or whatever, you know, like industries for distribution. But without that tree, that industry dies. So it's really the tree is the core of it. And it crosses over to like pretty much all creative. Like there's no art, there's no galleries if there's no artists, you know, there's no collectors if there's no artists, really, because you can't collect nothing.
Right.
So artist is going to create no matter what and produce trees or produce fruit. And so maybe sometimes that fruit falls and gets rotten on the ground, but we still made it.
You know, it's interesting to hear what you said. A couple key points. One is, you know, listening to you, I think for an artist, there are naturally different mediums that appeal to them. And often the nature of their work, like Vinnie's work naturally looks good a lot on merch or whatever. You know, there's things like that I see. One of the things when I first came into space is I think a lot of people didn't collect physicals because they're younger and they have less space to hang stuff. And honestly, I think Avant Art was one of the big players to bridge natively digital collectors to physicals. Like a lot of people I know hadn't collected physicals from digital artists until Avant Art. I do think, you know, Ryan, you and I have discussed, you've had this experience. It is interesting to watch when people try to like bucket markets, and often people who are native physical, when you offer them a digital, they actually never take the digital that comes with the physical. I know, Ryan, you've had this experience. I did an investment over 3 years ago with a bunch of people, and one of the people who made the investment still hasn't taken possession of the digital tokens almost 3 years later. Like, thank God I'm trustworthy, but it's crazy. Like, that's how separate these markets are for some people. And so I think
I have an opposite story.
What's the opposite?
So one of the people who collected my first physical digital piece has not like allowed me to send them the physical yet. Still,
that's what I'm saying though. That's common. Yes,
from 2021. I still have. It's Richard from Manifold. I still have the physical in my studio in storage back here, and he's like, "Can you hold on to it? I'm moving this and that." So like, I've just held it for.
He's not moving, dude. He's not moving. Where is he moving, dude?
That's what I mean, though. It really is interesting that a lot of people like will either take the digital or the physical, and if you offer whichever one they didn't want, you think like they would take it, but they're like, they never take it. Literally, like they'll never take possession. It's so funny. So my view on this, though, is I do actually at the margin, you know, up until recently, these were entirely different markets. I was like, one good thing as an artist, if you like, you know, if you have to make money in the NFT space, it's hard because eventually you'll be forced to do something that's probably not good for your ecosystem. But in the physical space, like if you make a bunch of prints and they're sitting in a basement, nobody knows they're there. Like nobody can look at the blockchain and see they're there. And you can do a bunch of stuff in physical that historically in the last few years wouldn't impact your digital ecosystem. Mm-hmm. I do think now some of that's changing, but I think broadly speaking, like we have some more increased interest in physical, probably partly because the market's like dead and everybody's looking for cool, interesting stuff to do. But I think that ultimately, and I may be crazy, the only bridge between these two markets will be time. And, you know, like naturally the native digital people expanding more into physical and them just taking more of the market. So, all right, I want one of you punks to ask a question.
Well, okay, like I have a question since we have artists and collector on the call, right? And OG, you're also an artist, but like, I have my opinion on this, but like, when people say like in general, like NFTs are dead, digital art isn't real art, blah blah blah, like all these negative things we hear, like do you guys feel that it's dead, and have you felt like institutionally it's been supported, like, you know, like either or, like, because for me I have a view on it, but I'd love to hear your guys' take, because like when I hear dead, I think like, you know, post-apocalyptic, but yeah, I think that it's just my opinion would be that it's kind of less of a bubble or like a speculative trend than it was in the past, but that certain things are still paying attention to. I'm trying to like not lead you guys into an answer, but I want to hear you guys.
Heard Vinnie to go, because I have strong fucking views on this.
Okay.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like what Ryan is saying. I feel like when people say that, it is crazy, because like people, especially like on the timeline, because everybody wants attention. That's like one thing that I hate about just Twitter, that is just like attention currency. So everybody's just like, everything that everybody says is just clickbait, basically, you know.
Mhm.
So when people say something on the timeline, it's very like, when I sit down and talk to people, I have never heard anyone said to me, "Oh, NFTs are dead," or any of those statements that are like so black and white. I've never heard that in a real life conversation. But then you go into a timeline, and like you said, OJ, depending on who you follow, sometimes it's just pure garbage. But there's like these statements that are trying to get like a reaction out of people, right? So when somebody says NFTs are dead, obviously they're not. Like, you can literally go and see, I don't know, like there's probably some sale that just happened or is happening as we speak, and is doing pretty well. But I feel like what maybe most people mean is like they're dead compared to 2021 and like peak 2021. So of course, like if you compare any other time to that peak NFT gateway time in 2021, of course they're dead. But that's not the point of it. Like, the point of it is that this thing became a thing out of like thin air. People used the technology. People got excited about it. People like us started building on top of that technology. People like us got together and like make like actual friendships, as opposed to like, you know, like community this, community that. Like, people actually got together and started like, yeah, well, I mean, about the three of us, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I think it's not that dramatic. I feel like obviously they're not like as crazy anymore. I feel like everybody expected that after 2021 we were like we basically struck gold, and we were like, oh, this is like our thing, and like we're like the new, I don't know, like people were making statements like we're like the new famous people. It's like, shut up, dude. Like, something
actually,
awesome happened, and then we have it now in the world.
I have to point out that that's such a good analogy that I haven't heard yet. Like, the striking gold. It's like saying, like, gold is dead.
Exactly.
Because the gold rush
Yeah.
is over, but gold still exists, and obviously the price fluctuates just like this ecosystem. It's pretty good. What's our Fort Knox though? Does it have to be OpenSea?
No, but see, we're gonna let you go after that, motherfucker. Wait, Vinnie, I want you to, because I'm gonna come in hot on this. So
yeah, I think again, echo the same sentiment. I think a lot of it is like timeline talk. If people aren't like, you know, making a ton of money and then selling a bunch of other people's artwork to make a ton of money, they're gonna call it one thing or another. But I think for artists, if they're in it for the art and they're creating and they're exploring different things, then I think it's, you know, maybe not totally thriving, but it's something that's going to continue to evolve. And I think in that it's still very exciting. But I think most of the time it's just theatrics for the timeline and people wanting to.
People you do NFTs. What do you say if somebody's like, "What do you?" You say, "I'm an artist."
I say I use the artist term. Yeah.
So I was on a train. Okay, so when I got to Switzerland for Basel, I was like by myself. I took a train from the airport to. I took a train from Zurich to Basel, the city, and I didn't know where to go. I was like, is this the right train? Da, da. And this girl goes, oh, are you going to Basel? And I was like, yeah. She's like, yeah, this is the right train. She's like, oh, are you an artist? Are you in town for Basel? I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, cool. Like I'm, an art advisor. And I was like, oh, very cool. She's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I'm an artist. She's like, oh, cool. What kind of stuff? And I was like, I do abstract stuff and I work in digital as well. And she goes, oh, like NFTs? And I was like,
That's
like,
exactly.
But because I am like a believer in it, I was like, you know what? Like, I was like, yeah, NFTs. And I'm like, and I don't know what kind of like stuff you know about NFTs, but not like it's, I do like the art side of things. And, there's like the PFP stuff and then there's the art stuff. And, I'm on the art side. And so, I was just like, I wanted to not like shy away from that because I do think, and obviously like at the end of the day, I was like, what do I care what this random person thinks? But she was like, oh, that's cool. Like, show me your Instagram and like whatever. And then she looked at my Instagram, like we sat at like different areas of the train. And then like, as we got off the train, she's like, hey, your art's really cool. I like all the stuff you do. It's really cool. Like, do you have anything showing here? Can I check it out? And I was like, actually, yeah, there's this thing called the Digital Art Mile. And it's, right around the corner from Art Basel, like fair. And so then it was like, she's like, hey, I went, and then she DM'd me. She's like, I checked out your art. That fair was pretty cool. Da 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 da. Like, so it was this kind of thing where you could tell she's like, oh, like NFTs. And then she ended up going to the digital thing and being like, hey, this is actually a really cool thing. So that's kind of how I approach things. Is like,
what if it's like a totally random person that's not in the art world at all? Would you still just say the same thing, or? Because that's where I
deny.
Sometimes, like, what do you do?
What do you say at customs at the airport when the officer is like, wait, so what do you do?
I said, well, anytime anyone asks me what I do when they're a stranger, I say I do design.
Same.
Because I don't want to have, like, if it's someone who I don't want to have more conversation with, like if I'm just like, I don't want to have to, if I'm in an Uber and I'm tired or something like that, I don't want to be like, I'm an artist. And they're like, sick, I'm an artist too. I want to just be like, I don't need to tell the customs guy what my floor price is,
Yeah.
They might not let me in.
So it's interesting, you guys, like, I guess it depends on context, but I find like, depending what you're trying to achieve, but generally if I'm some rando asks me like, what do you do? I feel like now, in all honesty, I do feel NFTs is basically the equivalent of saying like, I'm a piece of shit who's like a scammer. And so right or wrong, like I already like don't like to deal with like, regular people who aren't in the game.
Well, that's what I used to say. That's what I used to say about myself before I joined NFTs. So to me, I'm just like, I'm still a piece of shit and a scammer. So it's the same thing.
But so for me, I think like what's changed is I do think NFTs, like we had this unique experience where it was like everyone was at home because of COVID getting checks. NBA Top Shot or whatever brought a bunch of people in. Every motherfucker thought they were going to be a millionaire and being an artist. And it took us a while to wash that out. And it's neither relevant, like, or a data point that's like, we should expect to have relevancy to how things go in the future. And so I view myself a little different as like, one of the things I do want to accomplish is help bridge the gap between like digital art and what we're doing and like the rest of the world and people I know. And I want them to be hyped about it like I am. And so I think of it more as like, how is it useful to what I'm communicating and how is it useful to lifting the space? And frankly, I don't think NFTs is a huge category of like characterizing a technology, and art is a huge category that's been around for a long time. And I do think for me, like, I learned a lot about medium for art when I got into tattoos and been studying like what looks good as a tattoo may or may not often look good as like not tattoo. And so I think it's super important for me, like to differentiate. I'd say that I have like the equivalent of a digital art gallery and I work with and advise digital artists because I do think digital art and crypto art is like a thing I'm hyped about. I'm not going to lie, for me, and I know people like, I have this conversation, a lot of people are like, why do you care? But I'm still human. And one of the things I learned when I used to have companies that I was responsible for is I always used to think like when somebody goes home who works in the business and somebody asks them what they do or how they're doing, it's a hugely important thing to human beings. Just like one of the things I love about this is like you pick your name and your appearance. Like most humans go through life and their name and appearance, which is out of their control, is the first thing they're judged on. And to me, picking your name and appearance and being judged on your words and what you do is important. So to me, like it is really important to me to be proud and excited about what I do. And when people start asking me about NFTs and like go into the whole part of the space I'm not excited about, I'm like, I already don't like talking to you. Like I want to talk to you even less talking about this shit. I do want to talk about how there's a super cool thing happening where like digital content's taking over the world. And there's this group of super cool motherfuckers like doing really interesting stuff that you're going to likely see all over from the Sphere to like, billboards in Hong Kong. And so I'm very like probably stupidly like impacted by this, but I really don't. To me, getting away from NFTs, which is a technology, it's cool and it's what I do, but talking about like bridging the gap between like digital artists and creators who are doing really cool stuff and the importance that digital will have on everywhere we go and look. Like, I love this mural Victor Reyes did behind me. And I think like we're not far where all these spaces will be digital, and the people like who are on this and who have been on my show doing super cool and unique stuff that's different in a world where anybody with a prompt can create visually pleasing art in a second. Like to me, I'm super hyped about that. I'm super hyped about what that can do. And so I guess for me, like I think NFTs are dead in the sense that I remember seeing this in the .com bubble. I've seen it in the housing bubble. I've seen it in like thing after other where like, you have this thing where everyone's hyped about it. And then it kind of gets like, whoa, I don't. And I do think NFTs, unfortunately for now, as a vibe or brand or whatever, is not a positive thing. Digital art and like digital content and crypto art to me is like a super dope, cool thing. And so that's how I think about it. I wish it weren't that way. And my often thing too is like, what battles am I willing to fight? Like one of the big things in the art is art. And, my view is like, I ain't going to be the one to convince somebody who's like 60 to open a crypto wallet. They either already have been convinced and I'm like, or I sell them regular art. Like, it's just not a battle I want to fuck with. And so that's how I feel with NFTs now is like, it's sort of, I had this funny moment. I think it was like I jokingly say, but it really was when the like Solana shitcoin was like max intensity and like misspelled politicians and company names were the alpha. I was like, fuck this, bro. Like, I can't lay in bed at night with myself, like defining what I do as this. And so, yeah, I do like feel strong about it. I do feel strongly about digital art and artists. You guys know I fuck with this shit for years. And hopefully I'm a giver, not a taker. But it really, I do think in the sense to say I'm in NFTs is not an accurate description of what I do. And so I know it's
I have a question for you, dude.
Yeah, hit me hard, bro.
So, okay. I know that you collect physical works because like Ryan as an example. Do you used to collect physical work before NFTs at all?
I was not like an art collector. I like collected comics, tattoos, sneakers.
Oh, dude, that's good. That's good because like what I'm actually like really curious about because it's something that you see just now, and it's not a good thing or a bad thing, right? It's just what it is, and I'm trying to like as an artist, like you're trying to wrap your head around it because like I don't know about you guys, but like I mean, I think we talked with Ryan. I've talked to this before. The reason why I got into NFTs at a point where, I mean, there was money to be made, but it was for sure not like that was before the nifty crazy drop era. Like you could be making money the same way that you could do money with like a print release or a brand deal. Like there was money to be made, but it wasn't crazy, right? So the only reason why I got into NFTs in the first place was because like I was talking to you yesterday, I've been everybody here has been making art way before NFTs. And like Ryan was saying, like that comes back to that tree analogy. That tree has been planted for a long time, and it's been watered for a long time, and it's been struggling through seasons for a long time. So when NFTs came into the picture, it was more of a thing of like, oh, what the fuck is this? Like as an artist, you're just curious about it, and you just want to, like Vinnie said, like experiment and like see what mediums can, you know, like, work with your stuff, or like how to translate your work into different mediums. And especially that one that never existed, you're like, oh, of course I'm gonna try it, right? And then it became this whole thing. And then I started noticing people that, especially people that were not collecting art before, and that were not even collecting, that people that were not even interested in art at all, right? And when I say art, I'm talking about like, you know, like sculpture, paintings, installations, stuff like that. I did notice the same type of resistance, that he was like, oh, if it's not if it's not like the digital piece, I don't want it, because I believe in this so much that I don't want it. I don't want to hear about it. Like that already had its moment. I don't want to hear about it. And as an artist, and dude, I mean, most of my career has been digital, right? Like the last 10 years for me was basically made in digital work. And like it's just recently now that I'm coming back to traditional painting, because like that's how I started, that's how I learned how to paint, right? With like traditional mediums. So for me, I mean, again, like I'm an artist, somebody else is a collector, somebody else is like an art appreciator. But for me, it's like I don't give a fuck if it's like a canvas or a digital piece, or if it has a screen in the canvas or not, or if it's like an installation. Like I just want to see cool stuff. I want to be moved by art, and that's all I care about, right? Like that's literally my only agenda. I don't have any other agenda. Like I remember like 2021, I was even like invited to like dinners where like I found out that I was brought to that dinner to be like the NFT like evangelist. Like I literally had people coming to me, like guys from like institutions or banks or stuff like that, being like, okay, what should I believe in NFTs? And I was like, I don't fucking know, dude. Like, if you don't believe in NFTs, I don't care, man. Like, that doesn't change my life at all. I'm not here to convert anybody. So for me, it's always been about the art. If in 10 years from now, or when I'm 60 or 70, there will be like new technologies and like new ways of distribution, new mediums to explore. I'm always gonna go to those things, because like for me, it's not about. It has never been about like what blockchain do I use, or like does it have a physical, does it come with a digital, what's the parallel there? I don't give a fuck. For me, it's like I just want to be moved by art, and I just want to be surrounded by people who either connect with my work, or people like you that is like, I just want to build something around artists just because it's such a good community. To me, that's like the real community. Like the artist friends that I made over the last 10 years, they're literally my best friends. It's the people that I talk to every day. It's the people that if I have something good, I'm gonna go celebrate with them. It's the people that if I have something shitty happen to me, I'm gonna be like, the fuck do I do? So I guess all that to say, like, my question is why there is such a division coming from collectors when it comes to like, I guess, like digital art, that they go the extra mile, that they're like, oh, I love artists, and artists is such a cool community, and the art is beautiful, and they even, some of them like really talk about it very publicly, about the things that they buy. But at the same time, some of them are like, oh, but only if it's digital. I love art, and I'm an art enjoyer, and art moves me like nothing in the world, but only if it's through a screen. It's like, that makes no sense to me, right? So for me, I'm always trying to find like the reason why. I mean, I have my guess of why that's happening, but I would love to hear from you. Why would there be like a bridge there, that you're like, I love this so much, but only if it's within this box right here?
I mean, for me personally, the way I think about that is, again, in the context of, hey, I love these artists. One of the things I want to do as OG and 452B is bridge from our little market that's volatile and small compared to the big art market, and be able to help artists like make more money and get more collectors. And so for me, I have to think about it, because I'm like, you know, I stumbled into a physical art show, and I'm like, well, I went and looked, and I'm like, well, these motherfuckers ain't going to buy something that's digital. So I better figure out how to package it in a way so the artist I'm homies with can sell it to this group. as for me and my own personal view, look, I know what you're asking is like, why do certain people have strong?
Yeah, I'm not even talking about you, by the way. Just like to
No,
be
no,
clear,
I get it. I get it.
yeah.
So in a general sense, what I think in some cases it's not even a matter of views. Like I said, it's a matter of like a traditional art collector. You can send them a file, but you're like, yo, do you have a wallet? I can send this. The minute you start that is the minute they're like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so there's some understanding and comprehension. That's number one why it matters. Meaning if they're used to buying paintings, shit they can see on a wall, and they just go do it and they ship you from Christie's, a ThankYouX piece, you send money, you get them to quote shipping and they send it. Like that's what they're used to. The minute you go to this other thing and start trying to explain it, you lose them. So that's number one. Number two is, look, I generally find motherfuckers have strong views about everything, like you said. Like people will be like, "Yeah, fucking this blockchain like is amazing," but anyone who likes this other one like must be a fucking moron scumbag.
Yeah.
So you're right. I think it's usually like ignorance, ease of comprehension, making their own like making it easier. One of the things I usually think about. Most people think about like what's the positive in life or what are they going to win. I'm constantly now think about what's like the downside to protect myself. How do I make life easier? And one of the ways to make life easier is like there's a lot of stuff you just rule out that you don't do, like so you don't waste any energy on it. Like you guys know, I typically dress the same way or do a lot of stuff, so I don't waste any energy on things. So I think that's part of it. It's a natural human thing. And then people fear what they don't understand. And then people like fucking attention. A lot of weak people. So saying shit that gets them attention.
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it.
I think it's too, and then honestly, I think the physical thing for a lot of people is like, I think a lot of people got like, I didn't come into this space intending to do anything. I sort of, for the first time, like follow my soul. The first time I got like bought a piece of art for real money was OSF, and a lot of that was because he was a ex-finance guy, so was I. I understood how it was packaged. I'd always been captivated by images. You guys know I've been tattooed.
You have it all over your body.
40 hours, and I have hundreds of pairs of sneakers and comics.
You won't stop sending us shirtless pictures of your tattoos. And
we know. Oh, we know, bro. Yeah.
It's you, buddy.
Yeah, we know you have tattoos, dude. Okay, chill.
I now have a campaign against fucking Ryan every day. I'm like, no shirts for Ryan.
Yeah. No fucking t-shirts is what NFT stands for. But
so I don't know if that makes sense, but I think
it does. I think it does. And I think that I think it comes down to just language and language barrier. And I think that like Victor, when we did that Sotheby's auction in London, like we had a physical piece.
Sorry that I cut you. Like the same thing. The collector who bought the painting, I think it took 2 years for them to be like, wait, do I get on like a digital piece with it? I'm like, yep, I've been waiting for you. Here you go. So it's the same thing.
So I think that but it's language, right? Like they wouldn't have bought it if it was sold as an NFT.
Right.
What they bought at that auction was a painting. And I think that's the clear language barrier between when you're talking to someone who doesn't know about like the blockchain or anything like that, you're selling them art and you're selling them something that they see as tangible, that they are used to collecting in their own personal way.
Yeah.
And then you can dive deeper on it and be like, by the way, it comes with this thing, but you don't have to own crypto. You don't have to know how to use it. All you need to know is that you buy this painting, you get this painting. And then it comes with this thing. Generally, if it's with someone like Sotheby's or Christie's, they'll have someone there that'll try to like help walk you through setting up a wallet and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But what I think that actually OG might benefit someone like you, who's like a single person, but also like a company, and you're kind of like trying to liaison both sides basically, is like, I see the future, and like, this isn't for everybody because like, I know I'll probably get some hate for this, but like there should be some sort of like custodial wallet that you can like let's say Vinnie sells a piece through you and it's a sculpture, and then it comes with an NFT, but the person's never bought an NFT, but they put it in their like, in their lobby at their business, right? And then a year later, like, and you tell them like, hey, I'll hold this for you until you're ready for it, whatever. I think those kinds of things, and like obviously there has to be like security situations, and maybe it's like a multi-sig or blah blah. But like I think Asprey Studio is a good example of like this like belief in the digital future while also coming from a history of the physical past and physical future too. But what they do is they'll sell an artwork, whether it's on ordinals or ETH or whatever, and a lot of their people don't want to touch crypto. They don't know how to do it. They blah blah. They're paying in like British pounds or whatever they pay in, and then he stores. He makes a whole new wallet for them, a ledger. And I mean, obviously, again, this has to go through someone like a trusted service, right? But like he has a service where like he's known these people for 10 years, 20 years, like he's family, you know, like all these things. He's literally a gallerist. So like they have to have that trust in him. But I think like having the multi-sig is probably important. But he actually stores their thing in like a vault for them. And so like rich guy who buys this NFT or ordinal or whatever, maybe there's not even physical, but he's holding it for them. They know they own it. They can check in on it. And obviously there's like a bunch of security risks with that too. But I think that as things get more understandable for people, like and bigger waves of people come in, like because most people who are coming into the space aren't like decentralization maxis. They're not like this, like they're not a Bitcoin maxi or an ETH maxi or Solana maxi. They're like, they're learning as they go, and then they might have an opinion later, but they're not going to be like day one, oh, this is on Solana. No, I'll only sell me something on ETH, you know, or only sell me something on as an ordinal. Like they're not thinking like that generally. So I think that how Asprey is doing it is good. And I think that if there was some sort of thing where like, you know, Victor, like it's interesting.
And Trevor Jones, actually, I was talking to him about like there's for his sculptures, there's people now, if it comes with a digital, one of the things you don't want it to happen is they get separated. So like I think he's working with somebody who will keep whichever side you don't take. So if like the person takes the physical, they store the NFT, and then so that when they get sold, they move together. And if they take the NFT, they'll store the physical for you.
I have a different take on this.
I think you're right that like some custodial trusted person will develop as one of the alternatives.
I have this different take on the separation of physical and digital. As someone who sells physical and digital, like as one piece, like I'm interested, and I don't know which side is right or wrong, but like I'm just curious about the future of the separation. I think that there's like an interesting story to be done there. So like if Trevor has a painting and then there's like also a digital element to it, I'm interested to see that just the painting go to auction, or just the painting be resold, or just the NFT be resold, because then it kind of like it might not even split the value. It might just be like a 2-for-1 or something, you know, like, and now you can like
productive rights to, like if I own an NFT of yours, what can I do in terms of like printing it physically? Because
I mean,
in the case of Trevor, it's a physical sculpture that goes with an NFT. That's harder. But if there's a painting out there of yours and I own the NFT and I can create a print of it and hang it on my wall, can I do that or no?
Well, okay, like so you're saying that like
I'm just
let's
curious.
say I make a but like okay, so like I make a painting and then I take a photo of the painting and mint that as an NFT. That's it, and it's the same image, and then one person buys this, the other person buys this. Like I think that
It's kind of weird.
the collector of first of all, I personally would never. Well, I don't know if I wouldn't do it like that, but I would. What I would say is that if I'm selling this image and it comes with this, I wouldn't sell it separate. I would sell it together, and then it's up to the collector to divide it. Now, let's say, like Canvas buys my digital physical, right? And then later he decides to sell you just the digital. And so he just keeps the physical. Now you own the digital element. Like, and then now you are like, oh, I'm going to print this since I own the digital. One, you're probably not going to get the printing file size without hitting me up for like the actual like big resolution one. So then that would be a conversation between us. You could print it small, sure, whatever. I think it's for personal stuff. Like I personally don't have a problem with it. If you're trying to then sell prints of that, obviously like that's not cool. But like the reality is no matter the print that you get, it's never going to be the same as the physical painting.
Right.
And so like
you're not even gonna get it signed even. Like if let's say that they got like the final resolution and they're like, well, it's mine, I'm gonna print it, even without hitting you up. Even hitting you up, they're gonna be like,
yeah,
hey, I can. It comes back to like the 2021 situation where it's like, oh, I can print anything, I can click save it. It's
exactly.
like, yeah, go ahead and do it, but it's not signed, it's not anything. It's just something that you printed on like God knows where. So go, for me, it's like go ahead, but it means nothing.
Yeah, because like the reality is like I'm putting a lot of images on Twitter.
Yeah.
That you could just lift, and print yourself, and you don't have to own any of it. It goes back to the like, okay, cool, but now try to sell that print to someone else. That's where the interesting element of the blockchain is like the ownership level, because the physical painting, someone actually owns that. Like, so they can, I can we did a live video of you unboxing thing. I know that that's in your house, right? Like, that's not AI, whatever. Like, so it's, and then the digital, it's same thing. It's like, I see that you own this piece on the blockchain. You verified that that's you, So like that to me, but like, I'm interested personally in like the people who I've sold the physical and digital that have the screen inside of it. Like, I would love if one of them sold one side of it just to see what happens. Like, I'm just interested, and I don't have like a preference or like, I don't want it to go a certain way or whatever, but like, imagine they pay X amount for the painting and the digital combo, right? And they sell the digital combo for like close to the original because someone believes in the digital more. Does the painting then lose all the value because of that sale transaction? Or is the value subjective because some people like the digital, some people like the physical? I don't know. I'm just interested in the conversation of what that could eventually lead to. I currently still don't believe that there's a way to keep them together in a way that's like seamless. Like, there's certain things like Trace with Transient Labs. Yeah, Trace with Transient Labs. I love them. I love that product. It's cool. But I still think that at the end of the day, like, it's not the solution long term. It's a great stepping stone, and I believe in Transient Labs and what they're pushing to achieve, and I think that it's a great stepping stone.
This is also like such a like, I don't know. It kind of like comes back to what I was like the reason why I was asking before, because like a lot of the conversations that I have is kind of like this basically. It's like, well, it's like two for the price of one, but then the value of this one comes down and all this shit. Like the first question that you asked, like, what I'm more excited in the space, dude. I have conversations with all of you guys, and there's a few people in the space that I can sit down and like talk about this. Just the art, like, dude, we spend how many hours painting, whatever it is. So whatever comes with the digital and is divided, but it's fractionalized and this and that. At the end of the day, oh man, of course, is what I mean. It matters, and to some people, is what matters the most. But I'm more excited to just like be like, yeah, dude, I spent 100 fucking hours painting this painting, and this painting means this to me, and I chose this color for this reason, and we can end up talking about like random life things because we started talking about the painting. That's kind of like what I'm looking for more in this space. Because I've been, dude, for the last years.
Cancel Victor Mosquera. He does not care. Mosquera does not care about what happens with his art.
Dude, the last fucking 4 years, it's just been like that conversation of like, oh yeah, but if I sell this one, what happens to the floor of this one? And then it comes with the other one, dude. Of course I care, but don't cancel me. But
what you're saying, it's like nice to just talk about the art and
yeah, because dude, like honestly, it's like that's what I do. That's what I do with my lifetime. You know what I mean? Like that's literally what I do all day, and it's not the same. It's not the same as me like sitting down and doing like whatever, and then just like marketing. Like I feel like, and actually, question for you guys. Lately, I mean, dude, we've been making art for such a long time, and like we've been through like all these big waves and trends and all this stuff. And I feel like lately, what I've been noticing more and more is getting to a point where especially with like social media, that is like basically like the way that we put our art out there. It just became like a like everything's kind of like forcing you to become a content creator slash marketer. Because like in reality, like I don't know, like the reason why I have a career, dude, is because since I started making art, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna make the best shit possible, and I just wanna like get better at like color, get better at like drawing, get better at whatever it is, right? Like there's like literally like almost like checklist of items that you need to become good at to be a good artist, in my opinion, right? Uh, and I feel like lately it's like honestly, you could be like okay at whatever it is, but if you like make like a sick video about it, and if you like market it well, it doesn't fucking matter if you're competing
But I
with
hate to hear this. Art is the threshold issue, not the defining issue, in my opinion.
what do you mean?
When I came in, I'd be like, yo, the best art is going to sell the most. That was like my naive idea.
Yeah.
What I think now is the art has to be like good, but the best art doesn't sell the most. It's you have to hit a threshold. Then if you're, like you said, if you're great at marketing, community, connection, explaining your story, very sensible about your ecosystem and structure, very sensible about your collector relationships, the best, like the combo of it's art and artist. And what I mean is, when I say that is like the art has to be a minimum level to keep you in the game, and better art's better, but better art doesn't win without this other stuff. And
Oh,
this is-
1,000%. But it's not. Is honestly like it's not even about like we're talking like in a very specific context of like Web3 collectors and floors and stuff like that. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about like in general, dude.
yeah.
Like let's say that I wasn't like an artist, right? I mean, it's hard for me to put
I
myself
know,
in like
I think I know what you're saying, Victor, but you know what? Honestly, so let me come again at that. Like, the first time I remember hearing it was when Grant used like you can't separate artist and art. And look, art, again, whether we like it or not, has always been like typically historically financed by the rich or institutions, and been more of a luxury good. As a result, it is partly a financial thing, unless you're an idiot like me and like never sell and just keep putting money in. But for most people, you got to sell stuff to buy stuff. So there's an element of there is like a financial piece of it. As a result, you're betting on an artist over a long time. And here's the thing: when an artist starts, they control supply. If you have one piece of art out there and you made it, you control it. After 10 years, your collectors control supply. And so if they change their view of you fast and radically, they can impact your entire career and the value of your ecosystem. Hence, I don't think it's totally unreasonable looking at the facts. And I'm just being, again, my thing in life is like, here's reality, how I feel it should be or want it to be. Like, I can work on that separate. The reality is, like, we've said it before here, 100 contemporary artists and 4 galleries pay the most sales. If you analyze digital art, a handful of artists make the most sales. Thus, like, you are betting over time on an artist making decisions and responding to the world in a way where people keep faith in them and like remain happy to buy their stuff. And as you guys know, I spent all my time, like, because I love it anyway, but like getting close and learning like personal relationships with artists. And so, Victor, my answer on that is like, I'm with you in some ways. Like, there's a lot of bullshit that people pay attention to they shouldn't. But a lot of great collectors do focus on like, you know, I don't like calling out specific people, and I know it'll go insane if I do, but like take Redbeard's a great example of like somebody who
fuck Redbeard, dude.
Yeah,
I'm so glad we're talking shit.
Yeah, fuck that.
I'm so glad you brought that up, dude.
Yeah, but like I like to know.
Oh, you meant good. Oh yeah, he's sick.
Yeah. But like, you know, I spent a lot of time getting to know the human beings, like, and so that's how I think about that, Victor. Is it's like, you're right, but it actually, to me, it's good. And the three of you are perfect examples of people who are wonderful artists, but also like wonderful, sensible humans that like are great close friends, and I talk to a ton. Like you said, I want to share my life with and share their life. Joking, it's not joking. Like when I bought the piece from Ryan, I waited to open it until I could like open it on video with him. I know that's
so sick.
But I just and then I did that with ACK's Broken Keys that he sent me. Like, to me, that's so fucking dope. Like, finding this connection I have with, like, this is one of the greatest things about this space now. It used to be somebody in between. And, like, now, like, you guys, like, fuck, dude, you were at my house last week. You know, how cool is that?
Dude, by the way, this guy runs that town, dude. It's crazy.
We did have fun ass experience.
Wild, dude.
It's a cool town, right?
It's dude, honestly, yeah.
You have to like check in with him, like.
We did.
Dude, I asked in a random fucking street. Like, I was like, "Yo, do you know where OJ is?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's his fucking sushi bar right there." I'm like, "Oh Jesus Christ, dude."
Okay, we're getting towards the end of time. As always, I sometimes forget on these. Like, you know, I think Sam was the first one to tell me we love Benny. We do love the fuck out of Benny. And I was
just for the
I just had a disclaimer. I was just kidding.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell him, "Fuck, you're fucked, bro." I'm gonna do a highlight reel.
No, but dude, honestly, that was such a good talk. Like, I'm not even complaining about anything. I'm just like wondering, like, I'm just like basically like pointing out things that I noticed. And I do it in this environment because I know that you, like, all of you guys from every perspective is like we're on the same page, right?
Well, I noticed that too. Like, I literally had the same thoughts when I first came out. I'm like, okay, I gotta find. And that was like, fuck, man. There's these like great artists who aren't like who have social anxiety or don't like posting. I'm like, you know, that's part of what I tried to do a lot, especially in my early years, like support these people and get their art out there. Because I'm like, this motherfucker is like great, but
yeah, Ryan definitely has social anxiety. He's horrible at social interactions. Dude. He really needs help.
Classic. Okay, Vinny, anything you want to talk about, bud, before we wrap up?
No, I think it was lovely. I think it just puts a sense of more excitement just to hang out with some artists and talk about art. I'm excited to keep doing that. I think there's a lot of moving parts on the timeline and in the space that we're in, but I think I'm just excited to keep creating and to keep seeing what other people are making. And I think that's, for me, that's what it comes down to. And of course, the friends we made along the way. I think some of my closest friends now I probably made in some Discord 3 years ago, and we still talk about artwork. Or some of my collectors, they were, you know, my digital artwork was the first piece of artwork that they ever collected ever, and you know, they created their wallets just to get a piece of mine, which those things are always special. So I hope those good times keep going, and just keep making stuff and see what time does here.
Vinny, I like the mustache, by the way.
I know,
little rebrand action. I didn't wear my hat today. It's somewhere over here.
You gotta go straight mustache only, bro. Hipster.
I think I might. Should I?
You could pull it off.
Ryan, you're not gonna rock it?
No.
Ryan, you could grow your beard out, dude.
Dude, I look so bad, but I know you know you're close with Alexander, and I tell him every time that he needs to shave that mustache. It had a good run.
Oh, dude, he's rocking it though.
Would you just get him wasted and just shave it in his lip? Just shave it. Wax it. Let's wax it.
Wax.
I'm down. Yeah. No, but I want to say that, like, you know, everyone on this video is someone that I deeply respect. When I saw Vinny, like, kind of coming into the space and like getting a lot of recognition, I was like, oh, who's this guy? Whatever. I like to look at what artists are doing and stuff like that. And I thought that every move that he was making was very genuine, and like, he's just one of the nicest guys. And it's just like one of those things where, like, anytime you can see someone's art and it's just instantly theirs, like, you know, that's a big sign. And so, like, both of these people, like Victor, I've been in contact with since, like, I think end of 2020, early 2021. And we've become, like,
we're
annoyingly too close. Yeah, annoyingly too close. Where we text nonstop every day. To my wife, it's like, who are you texting? I was like, texting the boys, you know, like, and you know,
just
so
text less. Yeah.
What's that? So if you could just,
just
everyone stop. Yeah. I have some shirtless photos of Victor I can send you. Just kidding.
Jesus Christ.
Put him in the vault.
True, dude. Mad Dog has them.
Yeah, everyone go DM Mad Dog Jones and ask for Victor's shirt off.
Jesus Christ, dude.
Hey, you set that up. Dude. Yeah. But no, I just I'm very excited about what's actually happening in the space, because I want to say that it's like it's more real now than ever. Because it's not just like this get rich quick scheme that, like, a lot of people came into the space to and maybe had no prior any sort of art skills or practice before that. And I'm not saying that like new artists shouldn't enter the space, because everyone should enter it. But like, I think just like
tourist scammers who are here to take and like come and take.
Look, it just comes a matter of intent and like thoughtfulness to me personally. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
Like,
but
shout out if you're watching this live stream, because you really care. You must really care if you're watching the three of us, like the four of us, just talk about art. You must really care.
You have a horribly depressing life and nothing better to do. Sorry, and I'm sorry.
Or you want to look at us and feel better about your life.
Yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, I'm good, actually, dude.
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
Poison.
These guys still love NFTs. Look at these fucking losers.
Yeah.
No, but what I would say, I do want to just say one more thing before we go, because there was a thing earlier when you said you were laying in bed and you're looking at like meme coins and stuff, and this can't be the representation of our culture and blah blah. The alternative to that is I actually see a positive in that element, because what that does is that still brings liquid to the ecosystem. And you're seeing things like, you know, if you look at what happened in 2021, the big players who were buying the art were people who made money from crypto, whether that was altcoins or just like, you know, stable coins, whatever it was, but they were making money from crypto, and that's who was spending the money. So I think if anything, you should just be stoked. And also, because that will come back around. If they love your art, they're not going to buy everyone's art. They're not going to buy every single thing, but just keep trying, and people are going to watch you and watch you grow. Like in the art world, I've had collectors that like will watch me for like 3 years before they buy a piece, because they want to make sure that I'm not just going to do something shitty, and they just like follow my career, and they're like, okay, now it's time. And they might pay more money later because my price may have risen at that time, but they're like, it's a better investment to like for them, because they're seeing the growth in it. And so that's very, very normal.
I talk about this a lot. I don't have a problem with Blur or anything that's liquidity created. I think it was more.
I have a problem with Blur personally. But
mine was more in the context of me defining what it is I do every day. It just
like legacy basically.
What?
Yeah,
like legacy basically. Like you don't want to be remembered as like, oh yeah, that's the Weave guy. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
The foot guy.
Yeah, the foot guy. Yeah, that's your legacy. Yeah. And then also, and then in addition to that, with the meme point is that, you know, it's also a chance for the artist to participate with like low level risk on things that could be a big reward for them financially. Yeah. That is a separate like side hustle to art, and it can basically help them feel more comfortable about how often they release this and that. They can be more thoughtful if they're financially.
Yesterday, it made them like some artists like, oh, I'm in a better position because I made a ton on meme coins, so now I can release art of the way I want. I'm with you.
Yeah, that's a huge one actually. Yeah.
Again,
and that doesn't happen in the traditional world. Like I've used this, and now again I've used this. I've said this kind of soundbite a few times, but like if someone buys my art at a gallery, they're not then like. There's no way for me to really follow them to see what stocks they're buying, you know, and how they got their money. But if I can. In this space, a collector is like, oh, we bought your work. And I'm like, cool, like, great. Like, what are you into? And they're like, oh, I just bought Whiff or something, you know, whatever it is. Then it's like, oh shit, should I buy something? They're like, yeah, buy something. Like, you know, like that kind of stuff. Or I can just track their wallet if I want to. So like, that's the level of like connection to the financial like underlaying that I pay attention to is like, everything's not about money, but like, it's impossible to ignore because the ecosystem is built off of a financial layer. So why not pay attention to that a little bit? Yeah.
All right. Dope, homie. I totally agree. Any closing thoughts? We're a little over, but
hey, listen, I planned all day for this. I thought we were doing like an 8-hour stream.
I got a clear schedule. I'm hanging.
So OG, if you have to go, us three will stay.
I mean, I think it's more
live stream draw.
Yeah, we can do longer. I just find that
it's hard. No, it's good.
The listeners, but I love this shit. I do have MMA actually, but I have to make it too, so I can.
Okay, all right. Okay, you can beat us up. We get it.
Priorities.
Look, that was just his way of like telling the artist that I'm tougher than you. Like,
not really. I'm old.
Dude, have you guys heard of this like armored MMA thing where they do like full knights armor and then they fight in the ring with like swords? It's like a new thing. It's sick.
Sounds much insane.
Yeah. Is it on Poly Market? Can you bet on it on Poly Market?
Is there a roll bit, dude?
All right, fuckers, stay in the room for a minute. I want to thank everyone for watching. Love for these motherfuckers. As always, it's total joy. 21 out. Okay, stay on.